right, friends, the purpose of this training is to do something that Strongbrook has never allowed before in our entire history. The reason why we haven't allowed to is never a compliance issue. It's because we didn't have the tool. We also didn't have the track record. Years ago, everything was a theory. And the lawyer said, you need more track record, you need more track record, you need more experience. Today, after 7 years, thousands of clients, hundreds of millions in real estate, that day has come. I call this Strongbrook Day One because IBDs are going to be taught right now, everyone in the room, how to deliver a custom game plan. Okay. Now, for this training to make sense, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through this report, and I want to share with you when you first give this to someone. Would I walk up to somebody on the street and give them this detailed information and say, here's a game plan report because we talked about real estate for a minute and you're interested? I wouldn't. What I would recommend is that after they have received a message, a three-way call, after they've been to a grand opening or any kind of meeting, when they turn in that little card saying, I would like a game plan report, we are going to give them a what? A game plan report. These are available for you to purchase. I recommend that you put one physically in their hands so they can walk away from the meeting immediately with the promise fulfilled of what you want them digesting during the next couple of days. This information trumps any other information you can give them. This is what they're looking for immediately following a presentation. Now, the new PowerPoint being released next week is professional. It matches this feel. It's designed to share the company, a good narrative, a good story. It's backed up by testimonial and client experiences, but it also has a high degree of sophistication. Why? Because Strongbrook is a wealth management company, and every wealth management company has what? They've got a prospectus and they've got track record. So let me share with you how to use this tool. The meeting has come to an end. The presenter will say, anyone that would like to have a game plan report, we are offering 2 free gifts. The first is an actual report. And the person that invited you here tonight may have a printed out one to give you, but everyone will at least have one emailed to them as soon as it's turned in and submitted online. Just fill out that little card. You don't only get a report, you also get a free custom game plan assessment. Report, assessment. Now, we are rolling out a hybrid sales process. Here's what that means. It means that the IBD gets to choose when they get the report back whether they want to turn it into the company and say, company, I want you to go all the way. I don't have a rapport or relationship, or I don't feel comfortable, or whatever the reason is. You just think it would be best for that prospect to deal completely with the corporate sales team. You will also have the choice to say, I'm submitting this person for a game plan, and me or someone on my team would like to meet with them first and do a game plan preview and take the lead. A game plan preview can be simply reviewing the information here, or it could be reviewing the information and actually giving them a custom game plan. It's up to the IBD to see how far they want to take them in the process. Why are we creating a hybrid process? Number one, some prospects that know you personally don't want to talk to you. They would rather talk to a third party. But you know what? The opposite is equally true almost half the time. Some of these people don't want to talk to me. They want to talk to who? You. They want to talk to the IBD. So we're giving you an opportunity. We have IBDs that do follow-up and manage their business in such a way that they'll have 4, 5, 6 times the conversions of somebody else that just turns in leads and crosses their finger and hopes they go through. The whole purpose here is to give control to you over your business. It is for you to have control over your OCV. Now, I want to talk about what's in this, but I want to talk about what you do with this. After the presentation, they request a game plan. You put the report in their hands. I recommend that if you want to be the next person to follow up with them to have higher conversions in your business and have more OCV, more success, more commissions, that you make an appointment within a few days to sit down and do what I call a game plan preview. It is to preview the game plan report, and in that game plan preview, you may go all the way to even designing a custom game plan, or you might get halfway through your preview, and when it gets to the finances, you might say, at this point, I'd like to hand it off to corporate. Flexibility. That's what we are introducing. That's what we are giving you. Now, this document will contain either 4 or 5 documents. The fifth document is about the career opportunity. And when they turn in their game plan report, if they say, I would like a game plan report that includes information on the career opportunity, when that's submitted, they will get that extra document. Okay? What are the documents in here? The first document that this will come with, which is not currently present in your folder, is what is called the company overview. Now, if someone comes to your presentation, why is it important to give them a company overview which covers the A to Z of the company, covers our track record, tells methodologically how we are a wealth company that helps people create, manage, and protect wealth, talks about the products and services? Why is that an important document to give someone?
People need to feel confidence in the company before they're willing to look at what they might be able to do with the company. So it gives you legitimacy, it gives you, it edifies the company.
Let me ask you, do you think people are going to remember everything that was shown on a PowerPoint? How well do you think they're going to be able to share it with a spouse if they're married or a partner if they come home and say, yeah, and on slide 32, then they showed a picture and graph of? No, they're not going to do that. In fact, since they can hardly communicate it, their wife's role is to rise up and become skeptical. So instead, we'd like to leave them with something physical, a report that just says, oh, they can take it home and give it to their spouse. This is for their benefit to make sure they understand and digest who the company is and what we do. The second document is what is called a client case study. It is 10 case studies. These case studies were picked for a variety of reasons. Some are brand new investors, some are long-term investors. It's investors of different races and different ages. So what we're doing is we're showing a variety of results that are typical for those that stay in the program. And the whole purpose of a case study is to not be a testimonial. We created these asking tough questions like, what's been hard about the process? What have you learned? What hasn't gone as easy as you thought? Why is that important to share that information this way with actual hard fixed numbers?
Well, I think it's important because it's showing true, I don't know what the word's vulnerability, but it's transparency.
Transparency. Friends, people want to have a transparent, authentic, genuine experience. If all we ever do is talk about how amazing the company is and there's, real estate, they make it so easy that you'll never have a struggle. Come on. Tell me in what planet and what world and universe that actually happens. So the concept of the case study is also to demonstrate all the different ways that people have used the most common assets to invest. So for example, you do a game plan and someone has an IRA. Another person has a 401k. Another person has an investment property. Another person has home equity. Another person has stock assets. These stories not only cover all the different ages and races, but they cover all the different asset classes. So these were very carefully put together for that purpose. Again, this may not be something you review. This is something for them to take home, and this is what you want them digesting as they're trying on whether or not this is going to be the right company for them. The third document in here is what I want to take some time on. It is called the Game Plan Framework. This document took hundreds of millions of dollars worth of real estate, 7 years. It took a lot of trial and error. It took thousands of clients. And then to actually put it together took nearly 1,000 hours of different people's times, legal review, gathering and pulling in the numbers. This is the magic and the mystery which, if they understand this, will allow you on a single piece of paper to do an entire custom game plan for it, which I'm going to show you how to do in a minute. So what I'd like you to do is turn with me to Game Plan Framework, page 1. This is all the information that a game plan specialist is going to present to your prospects. The first thing it does is give you an overview. It talks about our approach to real estate. It talks about how we grow a portfolio. We want them to understand that we help them start with a home or two, and the intention is to grow it over time with this strategy that's spelled out. The first graph right there, we have had people in the last month purchase PSAs just by looking at the graph and seeing that real estate multiplies. When real estate multiplies, net worth multiplies, and cash flow multiplies. This is not for illustrative purposes only. This is based on our track record made more than 25% more conservative. It shows the concept of acquiring wealth over time when it compounds. The next graph, the next page, is completely dedicated to one of the biggest questions people have, which is, how do I know now's the right time for real estate? And of course we say, any time is the right time as long as you have the right what? Strategy. So we talk about our strategies. We talk about up and down markets. And so this entire page is dedicated to that. Now on the next page, we're going to get into meat and potatoes. We say that we have cash flow strategies and we have equity growth strategies. You'll notice, if you look at the graphs, that over 20 years, they perform very similarly. But cash flow markets will emphasize greater cash flow up front because, by the way, do we have people coming to this program that are looking for an immediate cash flow solution? Yes, we're going to take them to the best cash flow markets. We're also going to have people that say, I have a lower net worth than I'd like, and I'd like to accelerate that. And we have the other type of market, the equity growth market, displayed here. Now, I want to make sure you understand a couple of basic things here. In the assumptions for the growth market on the left side, we disclose all the necessary assumptions to have put this information together, and of course it's based on past performance made more than 25% more conservative. Okay? What this projection shows is based on those assumptions, if you were going to do the growth market strategy, you'd spend the first 5 years in the growth markets, the next 15 years in the cash flow markets, and look how simple this is. It takes you on this graph going through 1 through 20 years. It talks in the memo about when you're purchasing, selling, or holding. The next column just shows you the number of houses you're accumulating over time. The next column shows you your annual cash flow growing over time. The next one shows you your annual net worth growing over time. And the last one shows you a rate of return, an annual rate of return. Now, why did we make these numbers more conservative than what we've seen in our track record? I want to address this briefly. There's two things you'll notice here. Number one, even though we create 5 and 10-year game plans for people, why am I choosing to conservatively show it over 20 years and also include things like annualized returns? People can't always necessarily believe 5 or 10 years. That's a red flag for people. Another red flag is the fact that they understand things in terms of annual ROIs. People know that in the market you can do 6, 7, 8% over 30 years. Do I really want to be showing making 25%, 30, even if I've done it? No. What does that naturally create? If I show an annualized ROI over 17%, that's when the skepticism break grows. That's what studies have shown. All of our numbers have been fine-tuned that our annualized returns are less than 17%, somewhere between 15 and 16. Now, is it good to be conservative? Are there things that people can do to grow their money more aggressive in our program? This is taking the most conservative standpoint, and the purpose is to speak the language that they're accustomed to in their world of stock market, 401k, IRA. We got some questions, McKay.
I was just also going to say that in business, you never want to overpromise and underdeliver. You always want to do it in reverse so that people, their expectations are clearly overmet, not undermet.
Correct.
So.
Thank you. Now, the growth market, the cash flow market, if you just study this out a little bit, you're going to have a really good grasp for how these are a little bit different. In fact, starting on the next page on the bottom, we even do a comparison of the two so that you can compare the two strategies, net worth growth, the two strategies, cash flow comparison. Turn the page with me. This part says, how much real estate should I start with? This assumption is based on the equity growth market and says, well, if you started with 1 home, 2 homes, 3 homes, 4 homes, 5 homes, here's how your money would grow. And it shows it in 5, 10, 15, and 20-year snapshots. And the graph lays that out. Now I want to address this bottom part right here. It talks about how do we compare to other asset classes. Notice that we are not going to beat up on the 401ks, IRAs. In general, we're just going to say, look at how we compare. Now look at the number on the far left side. What is the Strongbrook strategy projected rate of return? 15.92. That's a strategic number, isn't it? By the way, I manipulated to find the highest S&P average. Why? Because stock people rely most heavily on the S&P 500. The 30-year average gave me the highest, 10.8%. And why did I look for the highest one that I could find over a 30-year average? Because I don't want the gap of what we do to blow it out of the water. Friends, this 5.5% difference, do you know how that compounds differently over 20 years? Let's read it. Second paragraph. We then forecast what we expect our 20-year average annual returns will be. Real estate has the potential to outperform other common consumer-grade investments. The difference between earning 15.92 over 20 years is 2.4 times more growth or net worth increase than a 30-year S&P average. It's a 5.1% difference. This shows the power of compound interest. Become your own bank. Start leveraging the power of that. Okay, so by the way, this graph has sold PSAs in the last 2 weeks as a standalone graph because I'm talking and relating with people to the language that they're used to. This is designed to simply state very simple truth, which is we're not trying to say that we're better than everyone else or that they're bad or that they're wrong. We are simply bringing enhanced options to the marketplace that have the ability to bridge the gap. The new presentation uses a lot of this methodology, and it basically says, if you were to earn 30-year averages in the stock market, you're going to fall way short of what you need for retirement. This strategy has the ability to bridge that entire gap.
What does the real estate at the bottom of that graph specify? The real estate 4.25% on the right side.
That's just, and if you look at the footnote at the bottom, that's just single-family real estate, the way it in general appreciates over time. Excellent question. We put that one intentionally in there so that people could see, and here's the way I would leverage that. This 4.25 is often what the average typical investor has a chance to earn by trying things on their own and holding real estate over time. Is there a big difference between 4.3 and 15.9? An incredible difference. Okay, let's go to the last page. This page is designed specifically, again, for your prospect, and what it says is, how do you fund your portfolio? And what it does is it takes people through all the different asset classes and suggests how they could take any of those different type of assets and put them into real estate. That is essentially what creating a custom game plan is. You're just going to connect the dots for them, and we're going to do that in just a minute. At the end of this document, it talks about the benefits of real estate over time, and it also says, if you would like to get a custom game plan, call this phone number. Now, part of the hybrid sales process works this way. If you submit someone for a game plan to corporate, what's corporate going to do? They're going to call them, work with them, and they're going to take the lead. Is it possible that we may never reach them? But if 3 months later on their nightstand they read this and they see that phone number, what can they do? They can call in. Or let's say that Susie is sitting down with someone and doing their game plan report. She has just done a preview in that she has simply guided them through some of the graphs and helped them understand the power of this. And she gets to the point where it gets a little bit awkward for her to maybe customize the report, or they have a question she can't answer, and she just stops and says, here's what I'd like to do. Let's together call the phone number, and let's go ahead and get in touch with the person that can take you to the next level. Let's talk to one of the game plan specialists. Friends, that's a hybrid process. Our systems are being updated, so all the appropriate notes that I can share with you are going to be found in your back office. The name and phone number of the assigned game plan specialist is in your back office, or you can call the generic number, and we can look you up and put you in touch with the right person. So we're creating a way for IBDs and our internal processes to do this. It means that sometimes we'll do it all for you. It means that at other times you'll do it all completely on your own. And it will mean much of the time that we work what? As a team. So this is designed to be a team. When I say sit down with someone and do a game plan preview, what I would do is I wouldn't read the document. I would even ask them to go through this before they meet with you. And then when you sit down with them, I would let the graphs do all the talking. You know how they say a picture's worth 1,000 words? In the last 2 weeks of using these graphics, just 2 of them, the first one and the last one, I have found that those 2 pictures are worth about $16,000. Literally. Because it is finally putting in print what we've been saying this whole time, and it is speaking the way the top 5 trillion dollar wealth management companies speak to their clientele. That's the third document included in this. The fourth document, what I'm about to review, is then this single page, how you do an assessment. And then, of course, the fifth one is everything on the A to Z of the career opportunity. If they check the box they want that, it's included in their e-version. You can choose whether you keep it in the folder or pull it out, depending on what your prospect wants. I will tell you this about the career opportunity. We worked with a focus group of our most successful IBDs, and they helped us craft the document so that it's roughly the same length as this, and it is a game plan, if you were an IBD, of how to acquire income in real estate. We will no longer be referring to being an IBD necessarily as a game plan. To avoid confusion, it will not be 5 and 10-year game plans and 6 to 12-month income game plans. It's simply going to be real estate game plans and career opportunity. Both are valid ways of creating income in real estate. Good. Now, for the magic. Before I show you how to fill this out, we've made this so simple. I'm a little excited. But before I do, I just want to show you a couple things about the folder. When you open up the folder, we've designed these in a way to have all the rich, sophisticated look and feel that you would expect for a company with the results we produce. When you open it up, it talks about the challenges of traditional retirement. On the other side, it talks about Strongbrook's solutions. And then on the back, it has testimonials of people of different ages and experiences. Similarly, if you open it up, there's 4 more on the other side. There's room for you to put your business card in here. When you put your Strongbrook business card in here, which matches this entire folder, I'm just going to tell you something. This is something you're going to be proud to put in everyone's hands that wants a game plan report. Now for the last part of the training. What is a game plan and how do you customize it? 80% of it we've just done. 80% of doing a game plan is just helping someone understand the basics of the strategy, how it grows over time. And we just went through that. So when I said Susie does a game plan preview, all Susie's going to do is run through those pictures and talk to it and see if that person understands the framework. The framework is 80% of the job. The last 20% then is just saying, how does it apply to you? We call that a custom game plan assessment. And all you're going to do is circle a couple of figures and write a couple of figures, and this document in their hands is considered a customized game plan. Would you like to know how to do it? Yeah. Okay, good. I'm going to read this one. It's important. The top says this document is designed for use between an independent business developer and game plan specialist and a prospective client in reviewing specific options to build and fund their real estate portfolio. To schedule a custom game plan assessment, get in touch with your Strongbrook representative or call the number. Again, why do I put that number in each one of these documents? So if they forgot about you, how many of you have ever given the Straight Path book to someone, didn't immediately read it, they got back to you later, said they read it, and said, oh my gosh, why didn't you tell me I needed to put more attention on this right now? Have you ever had that happen? We're putting that phone number in here so that they can reach out to us anytime and give them some control. All right, notice that it also says that this is to be done between an independent business developer or a game plan specialist. Either can do it. The question is, what's best for this relationship? What's best for the prospect? All right. The top part says basic financial assets. To do a game plan, it's really a game of connect the dots. You'll see that there are 9 different asset options. They match the same 9 options in the document we just reviewed because I want them thinking as they're reading the case studies or as they're reading the document, how does this apply to me? This is the document where it all comes together. To connect the dots, we've got to get some basic financial information at the top. So you could ask them to fill out, or you could fill out with them, give me an idea of your credit, savings, the value of your home, how much you owe in mortgages, current 401k, total rollover 401ks, Roth IRAs, cash value life insurance. Let's talk about each one of these assets, and why don't you fill it out with me? And we're going to do a loaded game plan so that I can show you each use of an option. Because if you understand how to show all 9 options, A custom game plan is nothing more than a unique combination of the 9 options. So if I sit down with you and I circle 3 options, your game plan, your custom game plan is a combination of those 3 of 9 options, right? So let's make sure you understand this. Why do I ask if credit is good, average, or poor? Is it going to keep them from being able to do real estate? No, because we have credit partners. But it's good to know, because if you know the credit's not good, then you can say, that's nothing to be ashamed of or worry about, because Strongbrook has its proprietary partnering systems, and it'll actually say that in print. Savings, bonds, mutual funds. These are assets that generally don't have any penalties. They have a high liquidity, so we just group them all together. Oh, fill it out with me. Let's say that there's 20,000 in savings, 10,000 in bonds, and 20,000 in mutual funds for a total of $50,000. The next one says primary residence value. Let's say that their home is worth $250,000, and let's say that they owe $150,000. So it's $250,000 in the one column, and then the primary residence mortgages total $150,000. Current 401k. They're contributing to a 401k at their job. Let's say that it is $100,000. The next one, total rollover 401k, traditional IRAs, and annuities. All 3 of those are grouped into a bucket because they more or less are all treated the same. Friends, there's a few terms on here that many of you are not going to be familiar with, and once I tell you what they mean, everything you need to learn, if some of you need a basic financial education, all that you're really going to need is on this document. So a 401k rollover is nothing more than a 401k that was earned at a previous employment. The term traditional IRA, I think we know what that is. And annuities are often nothing more than a 401k rollover or IRA that got put into an annuity. They are all, for the most part, associated with a tax or penalty when they come out. So let's say that they have a total of $130,000 in that category. The next one, Roth IRAs. We're just going to load this up. Let's say they have $50,000 in Roth. The next one, cash value life insurance. This is not term life insurance. This is where they are investing in their life insurance and they have an amount they can borrow. It's one thing to say, I have $1 million term policy, and it's another thing to say, I have $1 million whole life or universal life policy, and I have $50,000 I can access. So for that, just go ahead and put $50,000 on cash value life insurance. The next one is other, SEP IRAs, 403s, 457s, thrift savings. Let's just say there they have $50,000. Okay, now we're going to get into whether they have investment properties. Let's say they have one investment property. Next line, let's say that it's valued at $200, and let's say that they owe $100. I'm not going to put anything under other assets. I don't get into cars and fifth wheels and things like that. But they could have gold or something. Okay, let's also say, for the sake of example, that they have one lot that is valued at $200,000 and they have $100,000 of mortgage on it. We have just filled out this person's basic profile, yes? Now, here's all we're going to do. We're going to go through options 1 through 9, and all we're going to do is see if any of them apply. Option number 1 says savings, cash value life insurance, stocks, mutual funds, precious metals. I have dumped all of those into a what? A bucket, because I can access all of those funds essentially for free. Savings. If I have money in savings, I can pull it out of savings. Am I going to have tax and penalty? No. Cash value life insurance. Let me just share briefly how cash value works. In just about every insurance company on the planet, if they have built up cash value, they can borrow it within plus or minus 1% of its annual dividend rate, which means they can basically have that money for free. If my policy is producing 6% a year and they're going to charge me 7%, then it costs me 1% and I don't even have to make a payment. It just affects the value of the policy. So cash value life insurance, they can essentially access it for, it's like free money, so it goes in that bucket. Stocks, mutual funds, precious metals. Again, these are assets that don't really have any penalties, so these are very liquid. So the paragraph says, These more liquid assets may be combined and used to acquire real estate. Well, let's see. Under savings, bonds, and mutual funds, how much did we say they had? 50. We also said they had cash value life insurance of how much? 50. So combined, we have how much there? 100,000. Now, there's a little paragraph that I want to read that's really important. It says, asset reallocation. Creating a successful real estate portfolio begins with the reallocation of existing assets into investments with the highest yield and least risk. Plan on spending $30,000 to $45,000 per property, depending on whether you invest in cash flow or equity growth markets. Cash flow markets, it's 30-ish thousand. Growth markets, it's 45-ish thousand. I have right now, that's important because look at this. I'm going to circle with them option number 1. And I'm going to say, why am I circling that? Because you have in that bucket roughly how much money? 100,000. So let me ask you this question. How many cash flow market properties could you buy with 100,000? 3. How many equity growth market properties could you buy? 2. Did everyone see why that is? If it's roughly 45,000 for an equity growth and I have 100, that 45 goes into 100 twice-ish. And in the cash flow market, 30 goes into 100, roughly 3. So I would write on that line 2 to 3 homes. I've circled option number 1 and I wrote 2 to 3 homes. Based on this option alone, does it make sense for this person to buy a PSA if it's right for them? Have we shown them a valid option? Yes. Now, whenever I write things like 2 or 3, I've just shown the maximum. I'm just there to let them know. I'm not saying that you liquidate these assets and go buy 3 homes. I'm just letting you know that you have options and could. Number 2, investment property equity. Let me ask you, do we have some investment property equity? Let's read it. It says you can generally borrow up to what percent? 70% of the value of your existing investment homes to purchase real estate. In general, the returns on the new investment property are sufficient to cover the added mortgage expense while accelerating the strategy. So if my investment properties are worth how much? 200. What's roughly 70% of that? It's 140. You could pull out a calculator and do that, right? You multiply 200,000 times 0.7 and it says 140. Well, let me ask you, if they owe 100 and the banks would lend up to 140, what's the difference? 40,000. Is that enough to buy a property? I would circle number 2 and say, looks like you have an option, potentially, where you could buy a house this way. Now, why do I like to use the word potentially all the time? Maybe the appraisal comes in low and they don't have that much that they can get out of it. Maybe it comes in higher. There's these unknowns. You've got to get in the program to do these deep analysis to figure out which of these options. So today is not about deciding what you're going to do. It's just for you to know that joining the program makes sense on our side because you have options. So I'm going to circle number 2 and write 1 house. Number 3, primary residence equity. It says the exact same thing, except it says that you can generally borrow up to what percent? 80. So let me see. Their house is worth how much? 250,000. What's 80% of 250? It's 200. What do they owe? 150. What's the difference between what they owe and what they could borrow? $50,000. Could you buy a house with 50? Oh, I would circle option number 3, and next to it I would write 1 house. There is some additional language here. It says the strategy is often used to accelerate the payoff of a primary residence. Why is that language in there? So that people don't freak out. It's because for a lot of people, their home is their sanctuary. This is, for many people, not always, but for many, if they're consumer-driven, this is the last option they'll entertain. If it's their only option, they'll join the program because they don't see a way out. So I always like to let them know that I'm just here to show you that it is an option. So they're thinking, their fear, when you say access home equity, what's the natural fear that comes up? I'm going to lose my home, or I'm going in the wrong way. I'm trying to pay that thing off. So why do I refer to it as an accelerated payoff strategy? Because friends, look at how the money grows in the thingy, and then 5 years later, you could sell it off and pay off your house. Listen, I'm either using the bank's game plan, which takes how many years to pay off? Or I could use my game plan and do it in 5. They're just 2 different game plans. I'm either using the government's game plan, the bank's game plan, or my game plan. This is giving them control and power. Number 4, Roth IRAs. If your Roth IRA exceeds $100,000, you can generally roll these qualified funds into what's called a self-directed account to avoid penalties. Are there taxes on Roths? No. Some of you are sitting there and thinking, I've never even known that before. Do I really need to know that? And I'm saying that if you're getting a little bit of new information, what I'm covering in this brief training is all you need. If you ever need something more than what's here, you just turn it over to who? Game plan specialist. But I'm just teaching you, this is finite, concrete information. Roth IRAs, they've already paid their taxes on it, and all they have is a penalty, not a penalty in tax. So here, it says if you have 100, you could self-direct it, you could buy a paid-off home. It says if you have less than 100, or if you want to use leverage, you can choose to pay the 10% penalty as a cost of business to acquire real estate. Well, let's look at our Roth. Our Roth has how much? 50. Is that less than 100? Yes. It is. So what's a 10% penalty on 50,000? How much am I left with? Am I going to have taxes on that 45? Nope. Is 45 enough to buy in either of the markets? Well, I'm going to write that down, circle number 4, and say, ooh, you can buy a house that way. Man, so far this person, they're doing great. So far they got 4 options. Man, that's great. Okay, number 5, IRAs, 401k rollovers, annuities. It says if your IRA and 401k plans exceed 100, again, you can self-direct them to avoid this time taxes and penalties. Or if you want to use leverage, just pay the tax and penalty and get it out. By the way, I just want to ask you, mathematically, do you know which one will make the investor more money, paying taxes or penalties or self-directing? Theoretically, paying taxes and penalties. It's a scary thing for people, but at the same time, it's freeing. One of the things that I love about a game plan that you never get to witness almost ever is that I've sold millions of dollars of PSAs. And when I sit down with someone in the presentation, or when I sit down, if I'm the first to say, did you know that you could use your IRA different? They often don't, because their planners have told them, oh, we can't even take it out. You can't access that. And I'm saying, well, crap, yes, you can. And that right there is one of the most powerful things for people, simply to say, you mean I have control? It's like, well, do you know the opportunity cost of what you've been missing out on? You could roll that into a self-directed. You could be paying yourself $800 a month. I could? Yeah, let me ask you, what did your IRA pay you last month? Nothing? Okay, you're foregoing $800 a month, just FYI. Okay, it's powerful for people. So let's look at the IRAs, 401k plans, annuities. We have a total of how much? 130,000. You see that? So I've got some choices here. I've got 2 options. What could I do with the 130 based on what this says? I can self-direct it, and it's enough to buy a house paid off free and clear. So I'm going to circle option 5 and write 1, 2. How much? I could pay the tax and penalty. You don't have to be a tax expert. Let's just say that taxes and penalties is 30%. What's 30% off of 130? 30, 35? So that leaves them with how much? 95? How many cash flow market properties could you buy? 3? I'm just going to write, looks like with this option, you have options of buying 1 to 3. Circle it. Number 5, 1 to 3 homes. Number 6, current 401ks. You can either borrow generally up to 50% of your 401k, or if you're buying a new primary residence, there's a $10,000 exemption. I put that little caveat in there because sometimes you'll sit down with a young couple that have nothing but $10,000 in a 401k, and they have a primary residence that they have very little equity in, and I can say, great, did you know that your 401k can put the down payment on a new primary residence? We'll turn the other one into an investment, buy you a house with a lot more equity, and that's a way to start your real estate strategy. Okay, but let's look at this. Their current 401k has how much? We said that it has how much? $100,000. So what's roughly 50%? 50,000. Is that enough to buy a property? Circle it. Option number 6, roughly 1 property. Option number 7. Primary residence purchase. These last three options, you can always circle no matter who you're sitting down with. Someone's game plan will always include a minimum of how many options? It doesn't mean they'll like them. But you can guaranteed sit down and always give someone a game plan with how many? Watch how this works. Primary residence. Strongbrook assists clients in advancing their portfolio with the purchase of a primary residence. This option usually requires less than $10,000. This option applies to first-time home buyers and those seeking to purchase a new primary residence. You could come into the program, you could save for the next 6 months, and our team will work with you to get in a primary residence, circle number 7. Now, what's the downside of that option? A lot of people don't want to what? I don't want to move. Listen, it's just my responsibility to make sure you know that if any time in the next 5, 10 years, or next year, that moving is in your stars, know that it can be done advantageously. Option number 8, partnering. You may combine assets with other clients, family, friends, or acquaintances to acquire real estate using one of our partnering strategies. Partnering can be, what if someone just says, all I got to my name is 20 grand in bonds. I inherited it from grandma. 20,000, can you buy a property with that? But can you buy half a property? So what do you need? Will Strongbrook introduce you to other people whose grandmas left them 20,000 in bonds and they can get together and do lunch and decide if they want to do something together? Can partnering also mean I'll buy a PSA and let my dad put up the money and together we'll do a deal and I didn't have to bring up money? Could it be that way? Circle number 8.
Hey, Kris.
Partnering is a very real option. Go ahead.
On that option, so if they get a PSA, Strongbrook will actually, if that's one of their options, introduce them to some other people that are looking for the same thing?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep, thank you. So I'm going to circle option number 8. And option number 9, what is that one? What's that called? The career opportunity. The career opportunity is by joining our Strongbrook referral team, you can earn both income, $35,000 home bonuses. This program is ideal for individuals leveraging their relationship capital to produce income in real estate. Is that a viable option for people? I would circle it, thank you. So, now this person, John Doe, just happens to have how many options? Wow, that is just something I do not see every day. But, I want to ask you, all I did was run you through this. How many of you feel like, based off of this alone, you could sit down with someone and connect the dots and say, it looks like I'm not an expert, I'm not an advisor, I'm not a financial planner, but based on my understanding, it looks like you have options, and the only people Strongbrook will allow into the company are people who have. I do this to make sure that you are a fit for us. Now it's up to you to find out if we're a fit for you. Question.
So I'm really glad that you just said what you said, because my question has been, how do we protect ourselves and protect Strongbrook and not cross any lines with not having securities licenses and things like that?
So the best part about this is, if you're sitting down, they're making a decision on whether or not they want to do what? Get a PSA. Is a PSA a security? It's not. The terms and conditions are littered and strewn throughout everywhere. Our lawyers are so careful to make sure, and if you ever want to read it, look what it says. It says, past performance is no guarantee of future results. Current performance may be lower or higher than the performance data quoted. Your personal financial situation is unique. Information obtained from Strongbrook may not be appropriate for your situation. Strongbrook does not give financial or investment advice. You should consult your investment, legal, or tax professionals regarding your specific situation. Strongbrook does not provide any legal or tax or investment advice. And then there's a couple other sentences. Friends, that's the cover our behinds. You are not participating in selling a security. You are not acting as a realtor. You are not acting as a life insurance agent. You are acting as someone to financially empower others simply by saying, did you know what you actually could be doing? And that's all you're doing. When people get a PSA, when I go through this process, this is a very cerebral amount of information, and people at this point like to get into the nitty-gritties. And I will always cut them off and say, I'm sorry, the purpose of this assessment is not to coach you for the next 10 hours. It's not to take your entire financial situation and work out all your options. That's called the program. My job is simply to talk about whether a PSA makes sense, and making sense all comes down to, do you have options? And it looks like you do. And do any of them look attractive to you? Will you share these options and some people say, thank you for that information, but none of these options are attractive? Yes, I guarantee it, that's a part of it. Most people, though, if they feel stuck in their situation, and if they can't bridge the gap, friends, this all comes down to one very basic premise. It's very simple. It's in the new PowerPoint. It is called longevity risk. It is the risk of outliving your assets. The bottom line is, do you have a plan? Someone yesterday in the hall said, oh my gosh, I went and approached the people at the front desk and they're actually kind of interested, and they say they get pitched all the time. I said, yeah, that's easy. All you have to do is say, does you working here at the Marriott at the front desk give you a realistic game plan to make all the money that you need to secure your future? And the answer is no. My question is, what are you doing to bridge the gap? Friends, this information bridges the gap. For some people, it's a matter of years. Some people, they may need 10 years. Some people may need 20 years. But we can bridge the gap.
Okay, just a clarification on this then, because what I picture is we've identified how many homes they could potentially start with, and then either they reflect on this or maybe we guide them back to this page where it says how much real estate should I begin with, and then it shows out projections over 5, 10, etc. years. This projection here only assumes that initial investment.
Correct.
So if they can buy 2 houses now, they can achieve that 20-year summary without any additional funds being invested in real estate from that point forward.
Correct. Okay. Now, I want to ask you a question. Is it your job to help them decide how much real estate they want to buy? Especially not. Friends, that's what opens up Pandora's box and puts them in analysis paralysis of how much should I do? And the bigger the number they consider, the more fear they have. So here's what I tell almost everyone that comes into the program. I don't care if you're a seasoned investor and say you want to buy 10, or if you're a beginner that has never considered real estate and you could buy 10, you're going to start your real estate portfolio by buying how much? 1, and if you're experienced, maybe 2 at a time. Most people, I build a real estate portfolio the same way I have kids. Generally, 1 at a time. It looks like, John Doe, you could buy up to 9 houses, but guess what? You're not going to come to the program by 9. You're going to come in and buy 1. You're going to try it on. You're going to have an experience. You're going to gain your own experience. And then based on that, you will likely down the road, if you're like our other clients, come back and say, I want more. And that's up to them. They choose the pace.
Today, we get the 5 to 10 year game plan, we enter it right away, we let it go through the system. There's a series of emails that go out and calls. When do we enter that game plan request now, and what will happen when that's entered?
Excellent question. If I understand correctly, you're asking at what point should you submit someone for a game plan if you want to work with them first?
Yes, and what will happen, and therefore, if we want to work with them, then when should we enter that game plan
I'm
request?
so glad you asked that question, Kelly. The program is being designed to work this way, and we're still working with our advisory board, but this is the way it's looking based on the feedback we've gotten from IBDs. Once someone wants this, you submit it online. Why? Because I want them to have a backup e-copy of these documents, even if you've given them a physical one. If you check the box saying, company go at it, then the company will go at it. If you check the box saying, I'm going at it, then the call center, the game plan specialists are going to call you, not your prospect, and say, how's it going? At some point, do you want to 3-way me in? Is there a time when you need assistance for a handoff? And that's how we're working together. Great question. Thank you. Thank you.
Currently, with the IBD sign-up side, if we have the call center sign them up, then they get a portion of that commission. Is that going to be coming into play now with PSAs?
I'm so glad you asked that question, Jason. No, everything is going to stay commissionably identical and the same. However, here would be my recommendation. Do you sometimes have prospects come and you have a bit of an idea that says, I don't think this person is probably in a PSA position. Have you ever gotten that and submitted them anyway? Anytime you are suspect that someone is likely not a good candidate for a PSA, I would never hand it over to corporate. I would always say, I'm going to take the lead. Why? Do your own assessment. Find out if, in fact, you're surprised and there was an option. But more importantly, because you did the assessment, if your hunches are right, you are there to hone in on the what? The career opportunity, and you got a document, and you're sitting there saying, let me walk you through how cool this program is. For the sake of building your business, I would recommend, if you have someone you are dead set on recruiting, or if you don't think they're a good candidate for a PSA, I would take the lead on it every time, because the best thing you can do with that person is enroll them onto your team if they're a good fit for you. So you want to be in charge of that. I wouldn't ever put corporate ever in charge of my recruiting, ever, because this is whose business. And you want to be in control of building it, right? Great question. I'm glad you asked that. Got a question in the back over here. Shelley.
So right now when they go through with the company on the game plan, they often ask them to do certain assignments like read certain chapters in Straight Path or other things like that. Is that something you recommend we also have them do?
Assignments right here.
Okay.
The assignments are being given to them immediately after they request a game plan. These 5 documents that are in here, or 4 documents, depending on whether they want career opportunity, this is the homework. This is what you want them to. If they want to read more in the book, can they? Does it sell some people? Go for it. But once they request a game plan, please put this in their hands. You just saw a little ballet. I didn't even know I had it in me. Woo! Any other questions on how you deliver a custom game plan? You got a question over here, and then one over here.
Thank you. So there's going to be an electronic copy that gets sent to them automatically when we submit their request. Will there be electronic copies available to us as well, so that we have backup copies that either we could email or print out if we run out of printed copies?
Yes, what will happen is we're going to put all of this information on a link, and what we're going to actually send them is not an attachment. We're going to send them to a web page where they can download any of the documents. You will have access to that. We'll make sure you have access to it. The reason for this e-copy, how many of you know someone that might be interested out of state? How many of you are thinking, I don't think I'm going to hop on a plane for just one person necessarily? So you set them up and you do a what? A 3-way call. And they say, I think I want one of those game plans. And you say, guess what? In 5 minutes, you're going to get a link. Call me if you don't. Download those 5 documents, read them. When can we chat again? In 2 days? Great. Could you even do that game plan report with them over the phone? Because guess what they printed out? Watch this. I'm on the phone with them and I say, okay, see that option number 2 right there? Circle that. Based on option number 2, you could buy 2 houses. Write that down on the right side. Okay, now skip down to option number 7. See that one? Let's talk about that one. Circle that. Those are your 2 best options that I can see. But of course, it's my responsibility to make sure you always know that 7, 8, and 9 are always great candidates. You have a total of 4 options if you were to join the company. Yeah. So that's why we're going to have the soft copy go out for everyone, is so that we can do business via distance. Oh, question over here. Kayam.
So the custom game plan assessment, are we filling that out online with our people so that that information is saved?
It's not online. They're going to print it out. They're going to have a hard copy in front of them if you're talking over the phone, and you're just going to walk them through what to fill out and what to circle. Okay, was there any other questions on this before we wrap this up?
Mike says to print out the copy of the sign-up form. Always have paper copies of sign-up. So we give them this. They're ready to sign up. Is the sign-up paper, the application, going to be in this packet as well? Or do we need to print that out separately if we always have those? And so we have the IBD, or are we also say, well, I want to get a PSA. Are we signing them up right there? Could we sign them up right there for a PSA or IBD? And then once we get that paper filled out, do we fax it in? And how does it get to the end of the process?
Thank you. What I recommend you do is that if someone wants to sign up, you do it over the internet with them, or you simply call customer service and they'll do it for you. My favorite thing to do is just call customer service and 3-way them in and say, Brian, I have so-and-so on the line. We've just done a game plan. They'd like to get started with the $16,000 PSA, and Brian will take it over from there and walk them through the process. Or you could also do it online in your back office. Yeah, great question. We'll take one more question.
This one's quick. I love the idea that the upline or the people that are working with them are going to possibly have access to the electronic copy. There will be clients that, like say my siblings, they don't want me to know their finances. Well, can we make sure there's an option so that if the person is choosing to keep this between them and corporate, the client can opt and have that protected information?
Let me share with you exactly how that happens because it's built into the program. You're talking to your family because you're saying, how many of you want higher conversions in your business? Friends, if you want higher conversions, make sure you or one of your leaders does a preview in the least. Why? You're not even getting to the finances. What is the value of you doing the preview? It ensures what? It ensures that they look at this document. They've got 5 questions they want to ask, and they want to ask maybe the person that they know. Do the preview, and then you're at a choice. And the choice is, do I do the custom game plan assessment, or do I hand it off to one of my field leaders that's sitting here with me and I walk out because I'm family, or do I just turn it over to corporate? At that point, there's no proprietary financial information being passed if you've passed it on to us, and that will never be shared with you. So we maintain that confidentiality that way. But the reality is, a lot of people don't care. And there are some people that really do. And that's why we're creating a hybrid that says, do what's best for your prospect. So for example, if I had concluded my meeting and I were giving them the game plan report, and I was like, I'm so excited you're asking for a game plan report. You know what? I'd love to sit down in a day or two and review this with you. Can we do that? And if they kind of give you the vibe and the feeling that that's not so much their cup of tea or the relationship's too personal, then that might be when you submit off to corporate, but I'd still stay involved and do a little bit of follow-up. Or if they say, yeah, that'd be great, when can we sit down? Or, man, do you have time right now? I could take the hour right now and get belly to belly. You guys understand that our company is most closely related, and this is so funny, to Primerica, an insurance company. I mean, how different, right? But when I say we are most like, it's because we're in the financial service arena. We're in the arena where we help people create and build wealth, except we focus on creating it, and they are focusing on some protection strategies. Their business does $2 billion a year because it is, quite simply, a belly-to-belly business. Some of you were at my house earlier during a training saying, wow, Kris, you really dressed up nice for me. Why did I wear a suit to deliver this training? You may want to consider not wearing a t-shirt and jeans. Ryan Jayton's not here. You may want to consider not wearing t-shirt and jeans when you sit down and do a preview and game plan assessment. You may want to say, whoa, you know what? Think about this. Many of our meetings happen not at commercial buildings, they happen inside of homes. Is that in the terms of professionalism, is that a strike for or against us? Against. Now, by the way, the financial industry works that way. So when the financial industry then presents information, call it a PowerPoint, we want to get a bonus point by sharing a very professional, sophisticated presentation, right? That's what the new PowerPoint is. 1 point against us, 1 point for us. We get to the end of the presentation, they ask for a game plan, and I say, I can immediately fulfill on that promise. Is this a point for us? Oop, it's 2-1, things are looking sharp. If you were then going to be the one to follow up with them, would you want to represent nicely? And that's going to be another point. What are we doing? We are making an argument that says, I take your financial life seriously because of how we've presented our company, the materials that we've given you, and how I show up. How many of you would like me to do game plans for your people in shorts? I don't think you would appreciate it. I think you'd prefer if I showed up professionally representing what it is we can do for people. And the only reason why I can say this today is because Ryan Jayton is not in our midst. He's doing a California grand opening. Strategically planned that way. No. I love that guy. All right, friends, I'm so excited about this new information. Next Friday, and potentially a little earlier, this will be available, the pricing, get it in bulk, get this in people's hands. Here's the advice that I would give you right out of the gate with this. In the last 6 months, in fact, since you've been in the business, make a list of anyone that you thought was an excellent candidate for a PSA, and for whatever reason, they decided not to purchase yet. I will tell you that they likely didn't because the presentation was cartoony with bubble letters, or they submitted for a game plan request and would have preferred to talk with you instead of us, or they're successful enough that they were too busy to take our calls. Great candidates for the program. I would make a list on every single person on your team of all their low-hanging fruit where you've scratched your head and say, why didn't they? And what would I go out and immediately do? Call them up. Get this information in their hands. Go collect that OCV. Help them change their life and give them the information the way they actually want to receive it. This is the way the majority of typical, ideal PSA clients want to receive this information. Today is day one of Strongbrook. You've been the first to hear it. Take this tool. Use it powerfully on your teams. This is the game changer. Every one of you now has the choice on whether you do the game plan, a third-party corporate does the game plan, whether you take them all the way, part of the way, your conversions, your contact ratios, it's all in your hands. So friends, take this information and start blowing up your business. Make a goal to double and triple and quadruple where you're at, because you know what? Between Mike Drigger's training and the tools that we're giving you, you can do it now. Thank you. Thank you.